Hello and welcome to another episode of the Top Cinco Pod. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Top Cinco Pod. Thank you for those that have been following so far, and to the new viewers that we've seen as well. Don't forget to continue to like, follow, share and subscribe, and that's at Top Cinco Pod, and that is on Instagram. We're also on TikTok, and we're also on, obviously, YouTube as well. This evening I've got another guest with me. Welcome to the show. It's my boy Dave Stevens. He's been around the football block as well, just like my guest last week, and he's got a lot of clubs, and we'll dive into all that. So welcome to the show, Dave.
Thank you, mate. How are you? Okay?
Yes, mate. I am absolutely fine, mate. How are you feeling after obviously seeing you yesterday, mate?
Oh God, look at him hobbling, calf gob.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better than I was yesterday, I'm not going to lie. And yeah, I know that video that you've gone up sneaking behind me is probably going to get into the edit, so I won't say any more about that. But no, the calf's a little bit better, so I don't think it's a strain or anything if we just pulled it, but yeah. Popped. So yeah, probably a couple of weeks out, I'm not going to lie.
But yes, so obviously saw you yesterday. Talking of yesterday, we'll get into your club, Man United. As you've heard, yes, I've got another United fan here on the pod. But you guys like to talk. You got a lot to talk about, and it's therapeutic for you guys, right?
Yeah, it helps. It's not going to lie.
But before we get to them, let's go into the first topic that we're going to talk about today. And like I said to you, I want to know right now. There's a lot of under 21 players that are setting the world alight. Some sick performances. Who are your top 5 under 21 players right now?
It's good question. I don't think you can really look past Yamin Lamau at the moment.
Yeah.
I think I
Number
remember watching him. I think it was playing against PSG in the Champions League last year, and I think there was him, and then there was the other young dude. I think he was like 16, 17 centre back. Can't remember his name, but he was unbelievable at the Lamau, and I was just thinking, when you're looking twice and you're just like, he can't be that age, just purely because he looked that age, obviously physically, but just the decision making and how sharp he was, it was unbelievable. And then obviously he went and did what he did in the summer. And I don't think anyone in their right mind, I think Spain went into the summer, no one was really talking about him. Yeah. And then as soon as you watched that first game, I think it was him on one side, Nico Williams on the other, you were just like, yeah, they're serious.
Yeah, it was that combination was frightening, and they showed everyone what they could do, and it's scary because one, the age that they're both still at, and two, that could be them sorted on the wing for years to come.
I think we were out together, weren't we, when we watched the France game? I think it was Spain-France.
Yeah.
And he's just literally just dropped the shoulder, dipped, and just whipped that one top bins.
You're just like, what a performance from such a young guy. Yeah. The way he, because he was coming on and obviously doing cameos at Barca, and you're like, he's doing this thing. And then the fact that he then went to the Euros and then just stage. Off the back of what he did with Barca and did that was different gravy. So yeah, Lamine Yamal's one of your top under 21 players.
I think a second one, probably just because of the rise. And I saw him being a Man United fan in pre-season in the States, and I seen him play against Arsenal, your lot. And he was unbelievable. I think we ended up winning the game, and there was just all this talk about him. And that was Kobe Mainoo. Yeah. And then I remember watching, he got injured, I think he did his knee, and then he came back and he played against Everton away. I think it was the first game, which and not an easy game for any young kid to just be thrown in. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? At Goodison, kind of loud crowd behind you, and we weren't in a really good place either. And he was just instrumental. He was like diving in, like stopping like goal line clearances. Then the next minute he's picking the ball up and he's driving at Evans back 4. Yeah. He's picking passes. He was unbelievable, and I just thought, wow, yeah, we got.
Didn't he score like a worldie goal like a few weeks or maybe some months after that as well?
So there was that performance, and I was like, yeah, we got a player here. Be interesting to see kind of how he develops, and I think just because of the time, obviously United weren't doing, but they're still not doing that great. Yeah. You just having to play him, and then I remember a couple of weeks later he played against Wolves. Yeah. And that was it was an amazing game for the neutral, but not for Man United fans. Yeah. It was just a to and from. Yeah. And I remember him picking up, and he was just like chopped one, then nutmegged, and then just whipped it bottom corner. I was just like, wow. I remember that. And then fast forward it, you had a Liverpool game. Yeah. And then before you know it, people are
Great
talking
goal.
about him, playing in the England game. And I think the England game he played against Belgium and Brazil didn't look out of place. And then again,
Comfy.
fast forward it again. You got to think that's 6 months from that performance
Rapid.
against Everton. Yeah, the rise was just obviously just really, really quick rise. And I don't think he put a foot wrong really in the Euros either, to be fair. And then obviously he's just come back from, he's been
A few injuries.
few injuries, and that's what I worry about him, to be fair. And I
How old is he?
He is 18. I think he's just turned 19.
Okay.
And the thing is, when you're in a team, and I go back to like probably similar to like Liverpool in the 90s with the likes of Owen and McManaman and Fowler and stuff like that. Like when you've got good players and your team's not great, like you play them even sometimes maybe when you shouldn't really play them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
So I hope that's not the case, because he's a great talent.
Happens a lot with these young
he's a hell of a
players.
player, yeah.
So Kobe Mainu, that's another top player. Number 3.
Number 3, I've only got 3, if I'm going to be honest. I think the third one is not someone that you probably, that any old person would just throw out there, but I've just seen a lot of him recently this season. Yeah. And that's Tyler Dibbling at Southampton.
Yes, mate. Okay.
Like, hell of a player. Again, the first time I see him, I heard whispers about him because, funnily enough, his agent is a guy that I used to play football with as a kid and is actually a family friend of my in-laws.
Yeah.
And you always hear like of players and stuff like that, and he does deal with like a lot of younger players. And his name was mentioned quite a lot over the last like 12 to 18 months of talk of him like going to a big club, staying at Southampton, etc.
Wasn't he was at Chelsea as well?
That's it, yeah.
Before, and apparently he just was homesick.
Yep.
They're saying, so he just went back.
Yeah. So like he's had a lot of interest since the age of like 13, 14, which obviously says a lot straight away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched him again. Man United, we played him, I think it was like second, third game of the season away, and he just tore Dalot a new one.
Yeah.
Like
driving it in.
He's
dribbling.
Yeah, and this is Dalot that got Player of the Year at United last year.
Yeah.
Granted, he was playing like left back instead of right back, but he tore him a new one. And I was just there just thinking, wow. And then you know when you see a player and you're like, yeah, I like him. And then you kind of like switch in. I put him in my fantasy team and everything.
Yeah,
and then
I did that. I tried to in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And then I just started like watching more of him and stuff like that. And yeah, he's just a real bright footballer, technically gifted. He can go off either side.
Yeah.
Gives me like Jack Grealish vibes, like not just because of his low shin pads and that, but he's just every time he touches the ball. I watched him again on Friday night against Brighton, and he just looked a threat every time he got the ball. And I think that's a big thing for a young player.
You think he's going to nick a move? He's going to have to.
It depends. I think what advice I give to any young kid is that you need to be playing when you're a young kid. Obviously not playing too much where you're kind of burning out, but you need to be playing first team football. And I think he's at the right place. I think Southampton, as you know, great academy, great kind of success at bringing through youth players and stuff like that. So yeah, he's definitely one that I would say one to watch. And I think he's got a bright future. As long as he doesn't, like you say, you made a good point. I think sometimes just making that wrong move at the wrong time can kill you really in football. But I think, obviously knowing his agent, I'm sure he'll make the right decisions. Yeah, 100%. And I think from the sounds of it, like the Southampton as a football club are really good with his parents and stuff like that, and they keep his head grounded. So yeah, he's someone that I would 100% look out for him.
Watch out for him. We'll see. So 3 top players. We got Dibbling, we got Mainu, and then Lamine Yamal. All exciting players. So good choices there. Good choices. Obviously, there's a lot of names that are probably missed out there as well.
Yeah, but, I think there's loads, isn't there? And at the end of the day, I can only go off of like I watch a lot of Prem football. Obviously, don't watch much European football at the moment because Man United, especially top level, because Man United aren't in it. But like I think they say the obvious ones, Lamine Yamal, you've got Kobe Mainu, and I think just looking at the Prem and there's loads of decent young players out there. Like you're not doing a discredit to all the rest of them, but they're just 3 players that have just caught my eye.
Stick out for you. Consistently as well. That's
that's it.
To be consistently good at a young age is why you get spoken about.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing in football, man.
It's consistency.
It's consistency. I've always said that.
Yeah, definitely. So now we'll talk about yourself because obviously you were in the professional game.
Yeah.
How many years were you in the professional game, and that was in England and Sweden as well?
So started a career playing full time over in England, and then finished it towards the end of my career in Sweden with a gap of playing kind of like part-time non-league football in between, which is crazy really because don't really have the kind of you dip in, leave and then dip out. But like I say, it's just something that kind of fell into my lap going and playing abroad in my kind of like late 20s, early 30s. So
So the start of the career, well, I'll go through you, like I said earlier at the start. Loads of clubs. There's a few here to mention. So Reading, that was at a young age coming through. Who was your youth team manager there at Reading?
Someone you probably wouldn't have heard of, Brendan Rodgers.
Brendan Rodgers. Oh, okay, yeah. That guy that's at Celtic right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
He's, former Liverpool manager.
Yeah.
Wycombe Wanderers, Aldershot Town,
Yeah.
Farnborough, and then lower leagues like Reading Town, Marlow, Eversley, Fatcham Town, Woodley Town, Wantage Town. Something about the towns, mate. You just love the towns, and then Finch Hampstead as well.
Yeah.
So obviously the upper clubs, Reading, Wycombe, Aldershot, Farnborough. Out of those ones, what was your favoured club there, or favourite time in football at those?
It's a difficult question. I think obviously I joined Reading from a really young age. I was playing the age group above me, and like I said, worked with some great coaches there, and was there throughout the kind of time and the period where they went from a school of excellence to an academy.
Yeah.
Moved from Elm Park to Madejski Stadium.
Yeah.
So
big move.
Yeah, that was really, really interesting just to be part of the club throughout that transition.
Yeah.
Going from kind of like it was the old Division 2 at that time. That's
and
how old
baggy
they were talking. Yeah, with them to then getting themselves into what was, before I left, like a half decent championship club. Obviously they've gone on to pastures new, got into the Premiership and stuff like that. But that was a really, really kind of exciting time as a youngster from Reading as well.
Yeah.
To be in and around the mix there. Really exciting. Then I went over to Wycombe, which again was really, really exciting time to be part of the football club. They had just beaten Leicester City, I think, in the FA Cup. A big shock at the time. So got a lot of money, obviously, through that FA Cup run, pumped it into the School of Excellence at the time. Again, really, really good experience, worked with some really, really good coaches. And then from there, went to Aldershot at the age of 16.
Yeah.
Straight into kind of like youth football at the age of 16, reserve team football, which was just a big shock, just going from like playing in your own age to kind of being shoved into playing like FA Youth Cup games, like playing in front of crowds, playing in reserve games at full-time stadiums and stuff like that. So that was really, really good as well. But I'd probably say out of all of them, and my mum would probably like me for saying it as well because she's a mad Reading fan, but I did enjoy my time at Reading. And like I said, I think a lot of that is, and I've got made, and this is the greatest thing about football, right, is that you just make friends for life.
Yeah.
So I still keep in contact with a lot of the guys that played at that age, and all the way through kind of like my youth football career, really. So, but yeah, I'd probably say my most enjoyable time was then. So I think after
your young career, you're saying?
Yeah, because you know what it is?
When you got into an adult.
Do you know what it is? It's fun. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, as soon as you start hitting like 14, 15, the pressure starts.
Yeah.
And then football slowly but surely just starts becoming more of a job, so to speak.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And you probably have the same experience,
Yeah.
obviously, when you was at Oxford and stuff like that. The pressure starts, then obviously it's all about your own individual performance, not necessarily about the scores that your team's making.
How are you doing week in,
yeah,
week
that's
out?
it.
Like,
and then
making sure you're
you're having sit downs with the manager. You're looking at your future. You're then having people from the outside like talking to you. Why didn't you moved here? Why didn't you move there? So all of a sudden, in like the click of a finger, football goes from being really kind of like enjoyable. You just go train, have a laugh.
Do you know what? It's such a good point.
To just okay, this is getting a bit serious now. And I think that's where you see so many kids now at like the age of like 13, 14. They just lose the love of it. You see it, and I've always said it
from early as well.
Yeah, and I've seen it like even at my own age, like in and around Reading and stuff like that. I've always said like Reading's always been like a hot pot of like talent.
Yeah.
So many players that have been around Reading that have either just not got where they needed to be in football or just fell out of love of it just quick.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really, really important pivotal time in anyone's youth career. You speak to anyone that's played kind of gone into playing like youth football into professional football, I think they'd all say the same thing. It's that little switch of okay, all of a sudden you're watching what you eat, all of a sudden you ain't going out with your friends, you're not going to these parties, you're not doing
your lifestyle's completely changed, and then you're just like, then you have those performances, all those games, and then like if it's not a positive game, you're then thinking, is it worth it? And then you have to go again next week. And that's the thing with football. Like they say, there's always the good thing with football. There's always a next game, and when you're in that next game, it's the spin and the cycle's so quick. So you have to just adapt and move quickly. Your mentality has to be on it. So you've obviously, like I said, like you were saying, so you played in Sweden as well.
Yeah.
What was that like? That's a completely obviously
it was
different
crazy.
experience.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, like the biggest difference is obviously the time of year that you're playing. It might not seem like the biggest difference, but it's just so weird playing in that summer league rather than over here it's a winter league.
So what are the months?
So you normally start playing around, you go back to pre-season in like kind of like February, March time, and over there it is cold. Yeah. So cold. So you
What's
can imagine
the temperature you're training in?
So a lot of the training is done indoors in a heated training centre. So
Is that
just
how
because
cold
it's just too cold up there. Like I think like when I was over there, I think the coldest it got, especially in Stockholm, was about minus 18, minus 19.
Yeah.
So we're talking cold. And I remember I was just not prepared for it at all. The first time it snowed over there, I went walking out in like tracksuit bottoms, trainers, and the snow's like up to like your knees. I'm just like, what am I doing here? But no, that's probably one of the big main, like the biggest thing was obviously the change in the seasons.
Yeah.
And then obviously I think also like the facilities.
Okay.
The facilities is crazy over there. Like you look at like football over here is the main sport, and it is over there to an extent. They've got ice hockey over there as well, but like the facilities over there, whether it was like in the professional game, whether it was in kind of like grassroots, like facilities were unbelievable. 4G pitches everywhere. You everywhere you'd walk, you'd find them.
Yeah.
Over here, like you can't get a 3G pitch to train on for love nor money. Like my boys I play with on a Sunday, we struggle to find a pitch. Like my daughter who plays football,
They've
like you know,
opened a few more. Like Rivermead's got.
Like my daughter
got
plays
a new
football,
one
like you know, like, and her team have to get like portable lights in on a Wednesday to train, like on a muddy pitch and stuff like that. And you just think, for a country like that, is football is their main thing. I know they're trying to improve it, and they have done like over the last 5 or 6 years.
There are a lot more.
There are, but there's nowhere near.
They're still struggling though, or it's just too expensive as well.
Yeah, and you
There's
think how much money is
available.
pumped into football over in this country, and then you go abroad and you see the facilities over there, and you're just like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
Like the amount of the money over there is nowhere near, and that's obvious for everybody to see. But the facilities over there, and actually I was really surprised by like the technical ability. Like it was very kind of like big brothery over there, like the sports science, everything. They just looked into everything you did. So over here you probably come in, you train in the morning, probably do a bit on your own in the afternoon, but over there a lot of double sessions, a lot of shape work, a lot of technical stuff, a lot of tactical stuff as well, and not just like kind of set pieces and stuff that you do over here. It's kind of like your defensive shape, how you're pressing as a team.
So your days were a lot longer there as a professional than they were here.
Yeah.
So what was your life like? Let's just say, talk me through a day there, like what time you wake up and then what you do, like from.
So you're waking up, you're going to training. Obviously, you're having breakfast at training, but before you even got into the canteen to get breakfast, before you're getting changed, you're being tested for your hydration level, so you're doing piss tests and stuff like that. You're doing kind of questionnaires about how you're feeling mentally, are you tired, etc. like that.
Yeah.
So that goes in. It's all about data over there. Then you're going in, sitting down, you're having your breakfast, you're watching what you eat because everything's documented in terms of what you eat. You're going in the morning, you're training, back for lunch again, all your lunch prepared for you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Then in the afternoons, you're either doing like specific weight sessions, and I've heard it's very similar to what they do in the UK now.
Yeah.
A lot of that kind of stuff has come abroad into the UK game, whether it's differences in nationalities of managers or sports scientists and stuff like that. So that is on there as well. You would do your own kind of personal stuff, kind of if they wanted you to work on specific things, or like specific tactical work, things that you're specifically watching, depending on the position you're playing, depending on your position. And then by then you're kind of going home, and then it's not even a case.
What time are you going home?
So you're going home on a good day, probably about 3-4 o'clock.
Okay.
And
So
then
that's a
even
long
then,
day.
it's a long day. It is like a job. And then
Longer
obviously
than
you're given like stuff that you want to eat in the evenings and stuff like that. So like it's crazy.
Wow.
I mean, it was great for me at the time because it just meant like I didn't have to worry about all that kind of stuff living over there. But it was intense. But obviously it's great. It was just a real big culture shock because, like I said before, and I think an element of that is because of just how long ago it was when I was playing full time over here. We're talking 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
It just wasn't like that. You'd go out training in the morning, stuff like that, on like muddy pitches, and you'd go back to the football ground wherever you were, and then you'd have like jacket potato and stuff like that made for you and stuff like that, and just go home, duck out, and just go and lick your friends and stuff like that.
Yeah. Pasta, boy.
That's it. But it's exactly the same, isn't it? Like you know what I'm talking about. But like over there, no, it was a case of, and they were doing it from the youth teams all the way up, so you all trained in the same facility and stuff like that. So it was, and I guess it's a big difference, like for me, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was exactly the same as what it was in the UK, and if it wasn't, it was coming into it because you hear about it all now. Even friends of mine that have got kids that play in academies, like it's exactly the same concept.
Regimented from early. That's what I mean. That's talking about the enjoyment being taken out already.
I can understand how it happens. Yeah, 100%.
So mad. But thank you for sharing that with us.
No,
that was
no problem.
interesting. Obviously, like
the difference in the Swedish and the English, the lifestyle and that's the cold as well. That's definitely not for me. So fair play to you for surviving that. How many years were you over there? Sorry.
So about a year and a half.
Okay.
Year and a half. So yeah,
long enough.
Yeah, it was cold. It was cold, but it was beautiful in the summer. Like it's long, lovely, like warm days in the summer. Okay. I think you can go for countless amount of days. They call it midsummer, where they have festivals and stuff like that. Jeez. And you have a 2-week break in the middle of the season, obviously during that, and obviously you have World Cups and stuff going on.
So you can do whatever you want in that 2 weeks. They're not watching what you.
I wouldn't go that far, but and then obviously
still have to be.
Yeah, and then obviously in the winter, that's when it's cold. But yeah, the biggest thing was, like I say, it's going back to pre-season, because you imagine pre-season over here, it's boiling hot, stuff like that, and you're sweating out, and you're trying to do like fitness and stuff like that, and it's like just like Baltic cold. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's different, completely different. So we're going to go into the United game now. Obviously, United fan, like I said earlier, but a bit more positive for you guys from a couple of the other United fans I've had on in the last few weeks. You have you picked up 3 points against Everton at home. Obviously, it's a big 3 points. 1-2, it's a game you should be winning. Man United against Everton at home. Yeah. But it was a convincing win for you, and Rashford and Xerxes both getting on the score sheet, both with a brace. What did you think of the game?
Well, to be fair, it wasn't on TV, was it? So I went back and watched the highlights of it in preparation for this, and it was. I was in shock, especially when I saw like Joshua Xerxes on the score sheet twice. Yeah. Obviously, the scoreline was a shock as well. We don't seem to be winning games 3s and 4s. It's normally kind of the odd 1-2-1s, etc. Even like the Bodo Glint game on Thursday was a struggle. So, but what I saw of it was that it's quite evident the pressing is there. It's getting better and better every game. I think the first couple of games you could see it was there, and they were just blowing a gasket, because it's difficult to go from kind of being quite a counter-attacking kind of pragmatic team, which they have, let's be honest, which is what they have been even since kind of like the days of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, to then just going to just full-on press, asking people like De Ligt, Harry Maguire to go up 40, 50 yards away from your own goal line. It's uncomfortable to watch. Of course. But if you don't do it, and I think we've played in teams and stuff like that, where if you don't all press at the same time, and I'm not just talking about hunting in packs, I'm talking about the whole team pressing and being kind of on the front foot, you just get picked off. And it just looks so bad when you're watching it, and you see, I think it was a game against Liverpool for United last year, with I think Salah ended up scoring, and it was just like one touch all the way through, and it just looked embarrassing, because everyone was just half pressing, we weren't all going full press. So we'll see how it goes. I think one thing I can definitely say from the couple of games that I've seen under Almiron is that he will give you chances. Yeah. And I don't know whether that is just the way that he plays football, or a fact that it's just a case that the team aren't kind of just always there, only a couple of weeks into it. But I watched the City Sporting game, and City battered them for the first 45 minutes. Yeah. And then they came out.
And did that.
But what I do like from him is that he's a manager that we haven't had in a while that will change things in game. You'll see different variations of the shape throughout the game. He makes changes early. And that's something that we've just not seen at United. We always, with Ten Hag, you can put it on your watch. Yeah, you see it with Ten Hag, like you literally look at the scoreboard on the watch, and it'll be you know it needs changing, but he just wouldn't change it until 70 minutes. And I just think that's just poor. I think the best managers out there, I remember Jose Mourinho, like when he was at Chelsea, dragging off people like Sean Mike Phillips and Joe Cole after like 30 minutes against Fulham and stuff like that. Like, if it's not working, change it. Yeah, just being brave, knowing that, trusting in your ability that you know what needs to be tweaked and go with it. And I think if players can't get on board with that, I know fans will, because if he changes it and it's for the right impact, obviously he'll get applauded. If it doesn't, obviously he'll get absolutely smashed in kind of the press and pundits and stuff like that. But I prefer that rather than a manager just sits on his ass and just knows everyone can see what's happening, but he's not doing anything about it, because he might be kind of like wondering, I don't want to kind of like piss this player off if I'm bringing him off and stuff like that, which I think has been happening at United for too long, to be fair. Okay,
he's making positive changes. You're seeing positive things.
He's a nice guy as well. Like, you can tell he's got like charisma. I think one thing that Ten Hag, and I remember reading something about Daniel Levy, like I think he went for the Tottenham job either before Mourinho or for Conte. It was after he did what he did in Champions League for Ajax. And I remember Daniel Levy coming out, or I heard it somewhere, that he didn't go for him because he just didn't have that charisma and stuff like that. Yeah. And looking back now, that's probably the best decision that Daniel Levy's made in his tenure at Spurs, because it's definitely that. I watched one one thing, I think he was just giving out trophies to Garnacho and I think it was Martinez after they won something for Argentina, and they posted it like on the Man United Instagram, and he's doing a big speech, and he just couldn't get his words out. Like, I just think, how can you motivate players? Like, just real cringy. And I'm like, as a player, like, you want a manager that's going to motivate you, and I just don't think he could have done that. And I think this is the difference with Amorim. You can tell just by the way he speaks, his charisma and stuff like that, that he's someone you want to get on board with and run through a brick wall for.
Talking of motivation, charisma, will you be taking that into the game on Wednesday? Obviously, you're playing my boys Arsenal. It's his first big test, and like you said, you do get chances with against an Amorim side, and we are in that form at the moment where we've given Sporting 5, West Ham caught 5 as well over the weekend.
It's bad, isn't it?
That was a great performance by the way.
Yeah, I watched it.
From them. It was ruthless. Silly guys, what a free kick as well from Henderson. Like absolutely bins from him. Great free kick. But are you gonna bring that into the game on Wednesday? You're missing Mainu and you're missing Martinez as well. Yeah. So what are your thoughts for the game on Wednesday?
I don't know, man. Part of me is nervous. I think no matter who you've got managing you, who you've got like suspended, who you've got injured, etc. I think going to the Emirates now in the last kind of 2 years to 2.5 years is a difficult place to go. Yeah. And I think with Arsenal, I think you see it. It was blatantly obvious when obviously he was missing Odegaard, and I think you see it with Man City. Like, if you miss these important players, and I think this is a real reason why Liverpool are doing as well as they are. Like, they've got Van Dijk, they've got Salah. You were missing Odegaard, and I was just praying that he wouldn't be coming back in time for the time that we'd play him, because you see it straight away. That West Ham game, it wasn't just him, but like as soon as he's playing, those other players that he kind of links in with, the likes of Saka, all of a sudden Saka's gone up 2 gears. And then all of a sudden, kind of like your Trossards are doing what they were doing a couple of games ago, and it's just that integral like part, like the clog to the chain. Yeah, of course. So I'm worried. Yeah, I'm worried, man, because like I say, that Amorim, when you're trying to kind of implement that high press, and let's be real, Arsenal can press, but at the moment they choose to kind of do it when they need to. Yeah. And I think it'll be a really interesting game, because especially if Man United come out and play like that. Yeah. I think in certain games over the last couple of years, they've always been tight games. Even then, when you think we're going to go down and get battered, like something both happens. Sides can be going through like the maddest form, but then that game is always one where I think both sides want There's always like a late goal and something always going on at the Emirates as well. So I'm looking forward to it. I just hope we just put a good account of ourselves. Like, I'm not stupid. I don't think we're going to go out like we did when Ollie first was at the wheel, and you're going to go on a bounce winning 10, 12 games. Yeah. I think the fixture list tells me different with that. But I just want to see Man United go with with an identity. Yeah. I just don't think that's something that Man United have had over the years, just an identity. You watch kind of Spurs now, their identity, whether you like it or not, they've got one. Yeah. Arsenal have got one. City have got one. Villa have got one. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, I want to know kind of what the idea is, and that's just something that we've just been starved of for years. Of course. Which is frustrating. Yeah. It's like you said, it's been frustrating. Hopefully for you and the fans, things will start to change. Hopefully not on Wednesday though. No. But as we've obviously started recording, we've also seen the FA Cup draw as well. I know, killer. And we're facing each other again. And you're coming to the Emirates. Yeah, I know. I did say to you, I was like, if it was at Old Trafford, we've got a chance. But as soon as you said it was at Emirates, I was like, nah. So it's going to be interesting to see both managers, what kind of sides they field. I think both managers will want to do well in the FA Cup. Yeah. Obviously, Ten Hag will always have that in his locker, that he won the FA Cup and that he won the League Cup, but like evidently that's what is on paper, that he won trophies as a manager there. They're not going to. Fans will probably remind everyone, just because he won that. It was a cop out, though, wasn't it? It was a cop out. But I would imagine both managers are still going to want to go for that. Like Arsenal, it's there. It'd be interesting if Arsenal do competition. Mikel, he's done his first trophy and he hasn't done anything since. I think I'd like to see Mikel go out and try and do something in that competition, because I think he's just put all his eggs in one basket, or 2 baskets, with the Champions League and the Premier League, and he's come unstuck. Yeah. But I think I hate it when people go, oh, he's not won anything. He's a good manager. Yeah. I see someone. The way Arsenal have changed under him is unbelievable. Yeah. I've been there since, like, really and truly, I've been watching Arsenal since about 2002. So I can talk from them times. So obviously I saw the great times briefly.
And then it went so long. So you got to imagine that whole time.
It was toxic.
You got Man City out here doing 4 in a row. And I've gone that.
Yeah,
bro, it's
seeing
crazy.
all your players go to Man City
and leaving win trophies and all of that. So the fact that he's come in and done what he's doing, I've seen this guy. He was captain for the club when I was still watching him go through those times. And he's come back and now he's like, come on, man. Like, credit.
And the thing is, it doesn't seem like
man.
he's going anywhere either. Because I think I was very surprised that like the Barcelona and that didn't come knocking for him.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's stuck there, I don't know whether that will change now. Edu's gone.
Maybe they did behind closed doors.
Maybe.
There was light conversations. Then man just kept it.
Maybe.
Because the English are the ones that like to talk. They're the ones that get with the things and then it starts spreading like wildfire, innit? Yeah, gossip. Yeah. But again, we're going to be meeting in the FA Cup, like I said. That's going to be...
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Another big game. We'll see how that goes and we'll see how Wednesday goes as well. We should maybe catch up again.
Yeah, we'll do another one
afterwards. Yeah, do another one. That would be jokes, actually. See how it goes. Let's move on to the next thing that I want to talk about is the FIFA Club World Cup.
Yeah.
Briefly mentioned that to you the other day, but this is weird. Like, obviously, this is now going ahead. This is in the summer of
this summer is starting
next year.
Yeah.
So many.
I think it's 32 teams, isn't it?
Teams, 32.
12 from Europe.
A lot, yeah. This is. What do you think about the competition first and foremost?
I like the concept and the idea of it, but I don't like the fact that it's in the middle of summer in between kind of World Cups and Euros. Because I just think, I'm just talking from a player's point of view. Like, when do you get to rest? I mean, from a fan's element, it will be... Obviously, I don't think I'll be watching much of it because Man United aren't in it and they don't really... I don't think they're going to be in it for quite some time because I think it's the 4 Champions League winners. It's every 4 years and the 4 Champions League winners go in.
I'm just trying to get it up now, but yeah.
That's the concept of it. And I think what it's supposed to replace is that kind of... that rubbish really kind of around Christmas time when they go over to like Dubai or something like that. But I've read somewhere that they're still going to be doing it. So they're going to have a continental kind of playoff and then they'll play the Champions League winner and then they'll have that. I'm not too sure. So the whole element of it is crazy.
It's weird. So there's 32 teams. They're from 6 confederations. It's in 12 different venues.
Yeah, it's in America.
It literally is in America. That obviously it sounds pretty cool, but like you said, that's just long for the. I just feel like that's just long for the players, man. Like I've just got the dates here, so it's from June the 15th to July the 13th.
It's like a World Cup, isn't it? Or a Euros?
Literally just like including the winners of 4 previous continental championships, which is obviously why. I
think that's why Chelsea are in it as well.
Yeah.
But I think I'll be honest with you, mate. Like, I can't. It will carry on. Unless there's a player a vote and they do what they've done.
Who do you think's winning it? It's not going to be... So let me just... I'll go through this. Obviously, you've got...
I think it'll be a team from South America. Because I generally think that they'll take it a lot more
So South
serious.
America got Palmeiras, Flamengo, Fluminense, Botafogo, the Brazilian teams. Then Argentine team, River Plate and Boca Juniors.
I generally think it'll be someone from there because I just don't think you got to think those teams, especially around Europe, especially in the Premiership, like Chelsea's.
In the Miami are in it.
Yeah,
so we're going to see Messi, Suarez. Mascherano is going to be managing as well. That's going to be interesting.
But that's the thing. But I think from an element of a fan, like it'll be nice to see those kind of games and stuff like that. But if you're talking about who's going to win it,
good fix. It should be a good standard of football. But
when I be watching it,
I knackered.
Yeah, and I think that will be the big kind of. Like the big factor will be kind of like what's the level of football when you get out there, because we're okay with World Cups and Euros and stuff like that, and these competitions have been going on for years and years and years. Do I think this competition will kick on? Probably we sat here in 10, 20 years and it might be the biggest watched because it might be the most pivotal and the most important because it just takes so long to be able to get a place there, i.e. winning Champions League essentially. So
you want to be the bee's knees.
It's like the Nations League, isn't it? Like,
you've got to think. I wonder what they must be getting a lot of money.
Yeah, that's
the
only reason why
the clubs. They must be getting a lot of money.
The only reason why they're doing it.
So you reckon the South American club? I'm gonna reel off these other clubs that obviously we know big clubs are gonna be in it. So Chelsea are in it, Real Madrid are in it, Man City in it, Bayern Munich are in it, PSG in it, Inter Milan, Porto, Benfica, Borussia Dortmund, Juventus, Atletico Madrid, and RB Salzburg. So they're all big clubs. So you reckon it's going to be one of these?
Yeah,
South
100%.
Americans?
Only because you think those long grueling seasons that you're having in Europe. And I try and watch as much kind of football as I can. And all the best players, that like the young best players as well, they're always coming from South America.
Yeah.
They always find
you know
themselves
what?
in the
You might be onto
Portuguese league and
something
stuff
here.
like that. Yeah, I reckon it'll be one of those teams. Purely because I think it means more for those players in South America to get that exposure and stuff like that, rather than if you're playing for Man City.
They're on the big stage now, bro. For them, this tournament that we're discussing right now, and that journalists and people are slating, saying, "Oh no, this is terrible. This is long for the players." Them guys, I bet you are buzzing, absolutely buzzing. They're like, "Yo, this is where I'm taking my family out of this area. I'm getting that move now. I'm making a name for myself." So that's 100%. When you look at it the other way as well, which a lot of people probably aren't, but they'll hear this hopefully, and they'll watch this, and then maybe think about it slightly differently. So it could be an interesting tournament. So we've got something to watch.
Yeah, I think it's got legs. It's got legs in it, but not in the short term.
You're not ready to see them legs run yet.
That's it. I think in time, I think it might be a good product, but I just think at the moment, because you've got so much football going on, you're hearing about players kind of going on strike and stuff like that. I think that's the only thing that could tarnish it. I think if you're looking in 10, 20 years time, I think this could be the one that everybody wants to win. But like anything, I go back to the Nations League, like when it first started, and I think that's still got bits to it where you just think, they can't really be bothered. But as you start seeing these teams like, I see San Marino won their first game. It's all down to the Nation League and stuff like that. It's getting more and more positive exposure. Will it happen in 10 years? Probably not. But I think given time and the more money you pump into it, and that's football down to a T, innit? The more money you pump into something, more money you pump into a specific football product, the better it's going to get. Because remember, Premiership in 1992
compared to what it is
compared to now, you look at the Champions League, the European Cup it was called, compared to now, everything's got legs the more money you pump into it, I think.
That's very, very true. Let's take this on to the last point of the episode. I always like the ending of the episode because it's always
the top sinker.
The top question. And your position was a central midfielder, so it's only right that I ask you who your top 5 central midfielders are, past and present. I will just chuck a little disclaimer in there. We're talking positions now for our central ballers there. 4, 6, 8, and 10, because they are all central positions.
It's changed,
and the game has changed, so that's why I've specifically said that. So give me your top 5. You said it was easy before we hit
the controversial, but
you reckon it's gonna be controversial. That's great, but for you it was easy.
Yeah.
So take it away with your top 5.
So I had in 5th, I had Paul Scholes.
Okay.
Being a Man United fan, this guy was just a magician. Like, I was lucky enough to watch him play. Like, everything he had about him, his touch, his sharpness.
Yeah.
It was just incredible to watch. And I know people are going to sit there and they're going to go, "Oh, what about Scholes? What about Gerrard?" And there is always the comparison between the three. But I think with him, the change of position he did in the latter stages of his career as well. And he was just such a bright, technical football player. And I think he gets the credits doesn't necessarily get the credit he deserves in this country, apart from you Man United fans. But you talk to anyone abroad.
Yeah. The ex-pros, they all rated him. Big respect for him.
Yeah.
He also did, funnily enough, play that international role. He had to play on the left a few times.
Yeah, that's the only thing about his career that I think you could have an argument
about. But his temperament as well. Like, I remember him, he was a bit naughty at times. He did like a challenge, a few red cards and that. Like, he did. There was a few times he probably did let United down. From what I remember growing up, seeing games like here and there.
Yeah.
But
I've never seen somebody strike a football like him before. I mean, the amount of times he just used to.
Villa always stands out for me.
The one against Barcelona in the semi-final Champions League. But you just watch him live and you see him just get the ball out of his feet. And it's like the ball makes a different sound when he hits it. Like, it's just so pure. It's like a golf shot. Like the zing he's got is unbelievable. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's just got a different sound to the ball like someone's got a different sound when they connect with football than with other people, and he's one of them where he just is so technically good. I think Wayne Rooney was another one. Just strike a football and you can just hear the sound of it, just ping.
Lovely. So Scholesy in at number 5. Who is number 4?
It was a toss up between 2, so I'll give you both.
That's fine. I'll take that.
That right?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take both.
I was going to say either Pirlo or Seedorf.
Ooh, okay.
So Pirlo, purely because he was just an orchestrator, and again he was an artist.
Class.
Like, the way he would just orchestrate a game. And I remember a game for Italy against England. I think it was 2012, I think it was in Brazil in the World Cup. He just took the absolute. I think it was 2014. Sorry, he just took the absolute piss. And like, he was someone that had longevity to his career.
Did it for
People
years.
and every team that you play for as well. I always say like you can always kind of look at how good a player is by what your peers tell about you.
Yeah.
And everybody just says like he was just such a
class.
just a beautiful footballer.
We say elegant. I like the word elegant footballer for him because he literally was that role. He was so calm on the ball, so composed.
Yeah. And
imagine...
I think if you compare him to like the other option I was going to have with Seedorf, again, I go back to what people say about him. So this is a guy that's the only guy that's won the Champions League 3 times with 3 different clubs. But he's won it more than 3 times, but he's won it with 3 different clubs. Won it with Ajax, Real Madrid, and AC Milan.
AC Milan.
Yeah. So, and again, he was just someone that had everything to his game. He could do the dirty stuff. He could do the technical stuff. Tactically, he was brilliant. And he just used to get around the pitch. Some of the goals he used to score as well. He was a really powerful player.
Like the Gen Z wouldn't really know.
No, not at all. Like, but this is my top 5. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think some people have compared. I saw someone come out in the press. I think it was at the start of the year comparing. I think it was Rio Ferdinand. Yeah, comparing him to like Kevin Maynard.
I think I heard about that comparison.
Wild.
That's a wild comparison.
Wild.
Right now,
yeah, wild. So wild.
There's no legs for that.
No. I watched Seedorf from like a kid when he was at Ajax, and he was a part of that Ajax team that had lots of like Clive van der Sar, the De Boer twins and stuff like that. Went to like the Champions League final in I think it was 1996. And then they all went off, and they went off to their careers and stuff like that. I'm a lot older than you, so like I followed his career, and obviously we're Man United in the Champions League a lot and stuff like that. You used to big games against kind of the AC Milans, even when he went to before when he was at Real Madrid and stuff like that. And everyone used to say like Edgar Davids and stuff like that was like the best one to come out of that group of players. But now Clarence Seedorf, man, he was a joke,
gravy,
joke. Unbelievable.
So those 2, okay, that's at 4.
They're like tied at 4.
Tied at 4. So
you can pick one or the other.
Yeah,
I'm not mad.
We'll leave that to the viewers to kind of
make a decision
on that, basically.
I had in at number 3. I had Luka Modric.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Luka Modric.
It's not a surprise, but he was class. Yeah.
I had Luka Modric.
Do you know what's funny? Like, I mentioned it, I think, like, again on this pod, like when we were talking about like Bellingham and how he's now had a shit start to this season, but Luka Modric had a stinker for his first. That was the only season I remember seeing Modric kind of having a stinker of a season. Yeah. That one season, but you've picked him, but the other seasons.
You look at what he's done, not just at Real Madrid, even what he's doing at Tottenham, like, and also what he's done with Croatia.
The fact that he even got that move to Tottenham, everyone's thinking like, who's this like Luka Modric? Yeah. I remember Luka Modric from Football Manager, like back in the day. He was like a left. You could always pick him up for about between 10 and 15 mil, if I remember correctly, and he would play across that midfield, he left. Centre and right, so you're like, good utility, man.
I think he was like always like an AM back in the day.
Yeah, he was a baller, mate. So I knew of him slightly, and then when he goes to Tottenham, you're like, okay. But then other people aren't thinking of it, man. Like Luka Modric, and then he's come and he did what he did to get that move from Tottenham to Real Madrid.
With Luka Modric was that he was in that Tottenham team with Harry Redknapp, but he was the first one to go to Real Madrid. It wasn't Gareth Bale. He went before. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's telling.
That's what I'm saying. That was a big move.
And I think like that midfield that he was in with Casemiro and Toni Kroos, and let's remember this guy. I think he's won like 6 Champions Leagues. But also people talk about, and I'll go back to Gerrard.
This is what he did in Croatia.
Exactly it. This isn't a hate against Gerrard and stuff like that. Everyone goes, he carried Liverpool for all those years. This guy took Croatia on his back and ran him to the World Cup final. Well, that's crazy.
They nearly did it.
Yeah,
I ain't seen
skulls, Gerrard, all that. Like, how many times do people say they just didn't do it for the country and stuff like that? This guy took Croatia on his back and just went, we're off to the final. And do you know what I mean? And we're very unlucky. I know they got pumped in the final, but that England game, him and who was it? It was him and Kovacic
and Rakitic.
As soon as they went 1-0 down, just bossed that game.
When you actually think about that 3 on paper now, you just say that's actually a joke.
Yeah, joke.
Modric, Kovacic and Rakitic.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, so I had him at number 3, and let's not forget he's won a Ballon d'Or. So, like I say,
there you go.
If
none of the
can't be a poor player.
The other Englishmen that always get chucked up in the central
won a Ballon d'Or, mate.
They haven't won a Ballon d'Or.
Do you know what I mean?
Only Michael Owen's done that, mate.
Yeah, and I'm saying, and also what I'm just going to put a disclaimer out now, like none of the players that I've picked are still playing, like apart from him to this day. Because I just think there's great players out there, especially kind of midfield's changed so much, but I'm a big believer in judge someone in their career once they're finished.
Yeah.
Because careers can just go down, they can dip straight like this. I've seen it happen too many times. Like Dele Alli's a perfect example. I think at 19, 20, you'd be like, this guy's now.
Unreal for seasons. And he got injured. I think he's injured again now. Yeah. I saw like a week ago.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. So many things can happen in your career for your career path to go in different ways. So like I said, I'm a big believer in judge what someone's doing once they finish. I know Modric's still playing, but I think his CV and what he's won,
Yeah.
where he's played, what he's done for his national team speaks values. And like I say, I go back to it. He's been named best player in the world, so you cannot be a bad footballer, especially in a midfield position. Apart from what Rodri's just won it recently, but yeah, you can't be a bad player at all if you're getting voted as the best player.
The best player, of course. So 2 more to go. Who is coming in at number 2?
Iniesta. Just again, just a
magician,
beautiful football player. Beautiful left foot, right foot, quickness in feet. I think that right there to play in centre midfield, you've got that as one of the key things, that sharpness of mind, but be able to have the feet to do it as well.
Yeah.
See so many centre midfielders that are sharp with their feet, but they don't have the vision to see what's going on next. They don't have the peripheral vision to look over your shoulder, the wing mirrors that we used to call them. He's perfect at it. And like the things that he's done to people is on a football pitch is borderline like assault. Like it's ridiculous. Like you shouldn't be able to do that. And I just think, yes, he played in that great Barcelona team with like Xavi and Busquets, but they go to like the biggest stages. And this is what I've always said. If you're a great player, you're doing it on the biggest stages in the highest pressure moments. And you look at the games for won like World Cups and Euros for Spain.
You know that Spain team when it was just him,
remember,
Busquets,
I think it was
Fabregas.
like, I don't know, they played like Italy in like the Euro final. And it was unfair. They slapped them 4-0, and it was like, this is a European Championship final.
And it
would just look like they were on cheap.
It was
and
disgusting.
he was pivotal to it.
Yeah.
I think you look at the big moments against, I think it was that really dirty game with all those yellow cards against Holland in the World Cup in South Africa. Again, big moments on the half volley. But like, that's what I'm saying. I'm a big believer in, can you produce in the highest pressure moments, in the big moments?
Yeah. And he did it time and time again.
That's not easy, my friend.
Club and country. And then he was part of that Spain team that just dominated for years. So I'm actually not surprised by that. Quality player, Andres Iniesta.
Yeah. And my top one is Zinedine Zidane.
Ooh.
Zinedine Zidane, Zizou. I think, obviously, I was born in the 80s, so I watched football through like the 90s, the early 2000s. And this guy just had everything.
Yeah.
He was he could do everything in the middle of the park. I think some people don't realise just the sheer size of him. He was a big guy.
He's tall, you know.
And like, it wasn't sad, but he was like that. He was basically the body shape of like what you see some midfielders play like in nowadays football. Played in a great Juventus team, got that move to Real Madrid. Again, you're asking the question of, can you do it in the high pressure moments? And this is a guy that just did it time and time and time again.
6'1".
Yeah, he's a big guy, and to be that elegant that he is, like he was like, but something someone described once that like watching him play football was like an artist painting a picture. And that's exactly like when you're watching him.
Sounds beautiful.
People that have and people that haven't watched him or watched bits of him, I'm telling you now, go back and watch him, because he used to just be able to see things like 2 or 3 steps ahead of everyone. So you go and press him, you drop a shoulder, or he did this mad Cruyff turn, I think once, from like a long throw from a goalkeeper, and he's just this Cruyff turn and just sent 3 people for a hot dog. Yeah, it's just those little things like unbelievable. Like just being able to see things ahead of it's like. Let's say it's just poetry in motion.
Let me give you
so bright
some numbers here on Zidane, right? So he only played for 4 clubs. Cannes, 61 appearances, 6 goals.
Yeah.
Bordeaux, 139 appearances, 28 goals. Juventus, 151 appearances, 24 goals. Real Madrid, 155 appearances, 37 goals. So 506 career games, 95 goals. Yeah. So in this day and age now, people would then be like, oh no, he didn't score that many goals though. Like, oh my God, like it's a different game now. But what he did, like you just, everything you just explained. The only reason I mentioned the stats is because there's probably a lot of people that will mention Zidane and they're not even thinking about stats. They're remembering performances, what he did. Do you remember even in that World Cup final? Like obviously he went out in the maddest way, but
and I respect that.
You know, the Panenka penalty. For goodness sake, on the as they say, on the grand stage. Yeah, just your last game of professional football, you knew,
and then just dipped and was like, "Now I'm out, peace,
bro."
But no, I think with him, like,
what a guy.
You can throw all the stats in front of me, and I've always said this as well. Like, the best kind of test is your eye test, is what you see through your eyes.
Jeez,
because at the end of the day. I hear people like run stats with like Bruno Fernandes, and I like Bruno. Like, don't get me wrong, but they just throw stats at me. He's got this many assists. He's got this many goals. It's like, yeah, but when you watch him play,
guilty
like
to
at
an
the end of the
extent.
day, but I think football's gone that way now.
Yeah.
I think even like if you look at, you're going back to what we were talking about earlier about like kids and youth football and stuff like that. It's all about stats now. It's all about stats. Oh, like my daughter, like she comes off, like she got 2 assists at the weekend, and I was like, she ran up to me straight away. She said, "Dad, I got 2 assists," and it's like, yeah, but how did you play and stuff like that? Like I was watching the game as well, and then you're just picking up bits of, well, maybe you could have done this, maybe you could have. But she was just buzzing off the 2 assists or the goal the week before and stuff like that. So that's the way the football is now. It's a stats driven sport, and I think at the end of the day, the best test is your eye test.
Yeah,
I've always said.
I love that. That's actually a great saying and a very good point. But we're going to wrap it up now. Thank you very much for joining me.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for
this
having
evening.
me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Definitely going to have you on again.
Yeah, 100%.
I say this with a lot of my guests, but it's a long season, as I've been saying as well. So definitely see you again, bro. Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
Hopefully the calf heals up nicely.
Yeah,
and,
thank you, man.
We'll see you again maybe in the league.
Yeah.
To play against each other. So yeah.
Yeah, no
Safe,
problem.
bro.